live. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Before I get into that, let me give you guys some time to pull up, like, and share this video so your friends can pull up too. I'll see you in 1 second discussing nothing other than Sean Diddy Combs and his recent sentencing, 50 months. Okay, here we are, and we are back. First of all, you guys, as you guys know, it took me a while to get here on this channel to feel like discussing subjects and to come back to this channel ready to get it. So I do thank and appreciate all you guys for hanging in there with me and making sure that you stuck with me through this process, guys. Also, as you guys can see, we have our Powered by StreamYard here. And we are streaming in 720 because I do not have a paid subscription right now. So please excuse me for that. We will be getting that together. I want to give a quick shout out to Nabby. Nabby with this beautiful lip gloss. It is clear and it has this beautiful, beautiful gold little, these beautiful gold little flakes in it. It's called Magic 24K Lip Oil, and it actually changes the color of your lips. So it goes on clear, and you guys will slowly start to see my lips change color as I begin to talk. So shout out to Nabby. Thank you guys for this beautiful, beautiful lip gloss. Okay, today, you guys, let's get down to the nitty gritty and let's get down to the subject matter at hand. We have come to talk about none other than Sean Diddy Combs. We all know. I don't know about you guys, but I have been sitting on the very edge of my seat waiting to see what is going to happen with Sean Diddy Combs and his sentencing. And I'm going to tell you, a lot goes into preparing for a sentence from the inmate point of view, right? I wouldn't even doubt if this man did not sleep last night, because in all reality, this is one of the most stressful moments of your life. I think going through a sentencing has to be worse than it has to be worse than giving childbirth. I think at this point, it really has to be worse than childbirth. And because of that, and because I have experience with that, I can truly, truly allow myself to be engulfed in how he must have felt and what the prosecution was thinking and what the defense was thinking, and more than likely even the judge. And so we're going to address all of those things today from those different angles. As you guys can see, I have my Cash App on the bottom of the page. This is not a paid channel yet, so please make sure you are supporting your girl, okay? I'm going to take 10-20 seconds and I am going to get over on my other channel and I'm going to share this video. So let's do that. And really quickly, let me see, honey. Yes, we got to get to it. All right. I'm just going to pull up my channel here. And again, bear with me. Thank you. Thank you. I want to do some audience interaction with you guys, a little bit more of that. So I will be opening the lines up of communication between us, you guys and I, very, very soon. So just make sure that you guys keep your eyes out and keep your eyes posted for the phone number that I'm going to provide so that we can all talk. I'm also going to provide a link right now just in case you guys want to go up on stage and talk about it. So we are going to go there. Hold on 1 second. All right, we made that post, honey, and that's what it's about. The post has been made, and that's how we doing that right there. Let's talk about the fact that Diddy, okay, in all honesty, let's think about this. Part of the 50-month sentence. So first of all, just in case y'all don't know, he did get 50 months today, October 3rd, 2025. He did get 50 months. He has 14 months time served. So he's going to have just right over 3 years. That's a breeze. First of all, you went from facing life to facing 20 years to facing 11 years. And now you're sentenced to 4 years, roughly. But also you have 14 months time served. And so, he'll be out shortly. A lot of people were speculating he was going to get that full 11 years, and he didn't. Now, that is a win for him. That is not a win for the prosecution or any of the victims in this case, or quote unquote victims. Hell, even Young Miami. But with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get into the fact that, first of all, you're facing life. Now, this is reminding me of R. Kelly. Remember in R. Kelly's first trial how he was facing 110 years, and he actually got completely off done, like nothing happened to him. Well, this situation is reminding me a little bit of that, but there has to be justice done in this case, because whereas they said they had a video of R. Kelly, it was a little murky because we didn't have 1080 back then and 2K. Honey, well, now they got 1080, 2K, and all the rest of them. What's going on, K-Mac? How you doing, my love? And yeah, we saw what Diddy did to Cassie in real time. Okay, we saw what he did eye to video. Okay, eye to eye. I was in the prison with my little clear TV. And when I saw Diddy kick Cassie across her face and stomach and picked her up and snatched her by her hair, I was like, okay, wow. Now, I know I'm in jail, but I hope that could go to jail. That was my reaction. Like, listen, it was a mess. I didn't like what I saw, and not for nothing, but I believe the jury when they say they're unbiased, but not really, not really. We all know Sean Puff Daddy Diddy Brother Love Combs. Freak it, did it, don't get daddy. We know about the Tootsie Roll. So therefore, I believe also that the jury, that the prosecution, that the judge, I believe they were all still watching. Doesn't that remind you of something like with the Nature Boy case, right? So with the Nature Boy case, you knew, you could tell, you could feel the vibes in the room from everybody there, and definitely including that judge that was presiding over Nature Boy's case, that they had prior knowledge or knowledge, any knowledge of who he was outside of who he was standing in his courtroom. And they wanted to make sure that that person was not let back out into the community, at least not immediately. But Nature Boy's judge said, not never. Okay. Tis the difference between what's going on with Sean Diddy Combs and what is going on with that case. But it reminded me of those small similarities. I feel like there's an underlying factor here that everybody's missing, which is that we all grew up listening to bad boy music, right? And that includes the jury that he has sat and defended himself in front of, and that even includes this judge. As much as he doesn't want to admit it, Judge Submarinian, you know who Puff Daddy is. You know exactly who Brother Love is. So I do feel like he had some prior knowledge. The judge did not seem very happy at all with Diddy today in court. Now I want to back up a little bit, just a little bit, before I go there with the judge. I want to talk about Diddy's statement. Okay. His statement was surrounding the fact that he wanted to apologize for his domestic violence. So what that said to me, right? Okay, you're apologizing for domestic violence. You were not prosecuted for domestic violence, Brother Love Sean Diddy Combs, right? You were prosecuted, and I want to read this exact. Okay, what were the exact charges Sean Diddy Combs was prosecuted for? Clock it. Combs was acquitted on 2 charges: racketeering and sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but they found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So this is what you were accused of. And on top of that, there were many male prostitutes that walked into that courtroom, and there's just no denying. There was no denying. I really feel like had it not been for those male prostitutes that decided to say something on the stand about Diddy and Cassie, they might not have even found him guilty on those two charges for transportation to engage in prostitution. They may have just acquitted him of those as well, except for the fact that they had these witnesses. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because there's at this point, there's no denying it. You can see the transaction for the prostitution. You know, he went and picked them up and arranged the transportation, and here they are in front of us, and they are talking. Okay, they're telling us about the insides and outs of Cassie Ventura, which is just that was so diabolical. Baby, that was diabolical. Like, I don't understand how that lady is not embarrassed. If I was Cassie Ventura, I would go hide my head in the sand. But for some reason, Cassie Ventura just got her nasty mouth and her nasty thing still flicking all over the place. And shout out to her. I'm happy for you, Cassie, and I'm glad that you had children and that you moved on with your life and that you were able to rebuild yourself, because I believe that Diddy did oppress her. I believe he did hold her down. I believe he did get her addicted to drugs and have her out there strung out and doing all kind of sexual deviousness because of, you know, the drugs and other influences, him not wanting to live a regular boring life because he's Sean Diddy Combs and he can live on the edge and he has the ability to do so, right? However, I do believe that there comes a time where we have to practice. I want to say modesty, but that's not really the word that I'm looking for. Sometimes we have to take a step back, right? And I believe in Cassie Ventura's case, what I'm seeing right now from her is her wanting to be out here in our face, right? And so I believe that was her whole goal in being with Diddy. So I understand. She's like, well, I'm going to use him. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to still use him to get my face out there, even if we are broken up, which I understand because that was the goal in the first place. But as a woman and as a new mother and as a woman who just had an infant, who's been through such a traumatic situation like a Sean Diddy Combs abusing her or using her for his own sexual pleasures, whatever the case is, cheating on her, because even just cheating can cause trauma. It doesn't even have to be prostitution and drugs and all that stuff involved. Just cheating alone can cause a woman to have trauma. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, like, she's been through some stuff. At what point do we sit back and say, you know what? I'm a new mom. I'm out here looking crazy. Everybody know what my life been. They know I'm a victim. I know I'm a victim. Let me take some time to just sit over here and heal and, you know, and just not do this for a little while. Just do mom. Just be a mom. You're a new mom. Just be mom for a second and step back out of this chaos about what's going on about Sean Diddy Combs. And let that man deal with whatever he has to deal with in his life, whatever God allotted him to deal with based on his actions. Let him deal with it now. And you take a step back and stop talking. I didn't like the fact that Cassie was still making statements and all this stuff right before Diddy's sentencing. That is not necessary. If you were going to send a statement to the court or to the judge, maybe to the prosecution for them to read out loud, or even go to the court and read it out loud, fine. But for these statements to be coming out from her days before the Diddy sentencing is just, to me, it seems clout chasing. I want to be in your face type of stuff, you know. And then also nothing that she did at court made an impact. So all of the testimony that she gave at court did absolutely nothing. I mean, so I would just be done with it and let him deal with whatever God has for him. Okay, with that being said, we are going to go into a few other things. So he made his statement. He did not acknowledge the fact that he has been convicted and now sentenced on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. He spoke about the domestic violence. And this is the part that really blew me. So, okay, so you get on the stand and you speak about domestic violence and how you are sorry that you domestic violence these young women. You're basically admitting that you've done certain things. Now, mind you, he was never charged with that, but you're basically admitting after saying, I'm not the type of person, this, that, and the other. You're admitting the type of person that you are, but you're doing it after the fact. I would have liked to see what he would have said if he would have got on the stand and talked to himself, but he didn't. He didn't. And you know what that says when people don't get on the stand and talk themselves? You know what that says in court? It says he's confident. He has confidence that nothing these people are saying, none of these witnesses, there's not one person standing up here, not a Don Richard, not anybody else, that he feels is going to intimidate or or sway the jury against him enough that he feels like he needs to get up there and explain himself. But I personally would have loved to see what he had to say. And if all you have to say is something about this damn domestic violence video, I mean, really, did he honestly take that and shove it? That is not what we are talking about. And that is not the subject matter at hand. And I think the judge really did not like that particular piece of what he said. At the end of the day, address the issues at hand. This is the problem that I feel a lot of people have. Hi, Meek Meek. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely, yes. It's in me, not on me. You know what I'm saying, Meek Meek? All right, let me read a few comments before I go on. K-Mac said, you could tell Diddy was going to get some kind of time. We was just waiting to find out how much. The judge seemed disgusted to me. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so K-Mac, with that being said, I feel like the judge was absolutely disgusted. I feel like the judge had to have to sit through that and watch Cassie and hear her story and hear these other women and the Capricorn Clarks of it all. I think the judge feels like Diddy got away with some stuff that he probably should not have gotten away with. I really feel like the judge feels like the jury gave him some grace and mercy that he himself might not have wanted to give to him. And listen, I'm not mad at the judge. I'm not mad at the judge at all. I'm not even mad that he only chose 4 years, basically. I'm not mad that he only chose 4 years in a nutshell as well. You know, do I feel that Diddy could have gotten a little bit more time based on his actions and the crime? And one person pointed out that this was not just something that happened in a moment, right? So you have different type of crimes. You have, oh, this B word disrespected me, slap. Okay, now you've assaulted someone, you've batterized someone, and girl, what are you doing, right? Versus you actually living your life with a actual realm, an environmental crimes going on. You know what I mean? Like, this is your full life that you're living in a way that is criminal. And so I think that is that is something to be considered. The judge definitely seemed disgusted by his speech today. The judge definitely has sat up and watched and looked and considered, you know, who he could be. And I think that the judge was definitely taken aback by him. Also, if you guys really, so he's standing here, right? Think about this. He is standing in front of the judge. He is standing in front of the court addressing his case, right? Or what he is supposed to be addressing is his case. But instead of him addressing his case, he talks about a crime that he was not charged for, the crime of domestic violence. So he talks about domestic violence, okay? Not only that, but right before his sentencing, he tried to get the case overturned. He tried to get a new trial. This speaks to the fact that he feels like either one, he's innocent. He really feels like he's innocent, even though he's been proven to have committed these crimes, or two, he is not accountable for the things he has done. Thank you. He is not accountable for the things that he has done. And that's what it speaks to. That's what happens when you stand in front of the judge, or when you send paperwork right before sentencing, and it's like, can you overturn this? Can you throw this out? You're not taking accountability for anything that we've proven that you've done. You're asking me to give you a break. And I believe that that's a huge part of why the judge was absolutely disgusted by Diddy today. That judge was not having his ish at all. Now, you can imagine being Sean Diddy Combs. You are sitting in your cell and you are reading books, talking to people around you. Hey, man, yeah, you trying to be cool with the same people that you probably wouldn't have looked at once or twice had you not been in this predicament. So had Sean Diddy Combs not been in the predicament that he was in prison, we all know he wouldn't have even, there's no way he would have looked these people away. But here you are in your cell trying to be comfortable with these same people. Hey, y'all, yeah, this, that, and the other, right? They're giving him legal advice, because this is what all inmates do in prisons, in jails. It's unfortunate because they think they know what they're talking about and they don't. Okay. But they're giving him legal advice. Okay. And they're like, yeah, brother, all you got to do is put in a habeas corpus and then put it in this motion. Don't make this statement on when you make a statement to the judge, be apologetic, but don't be too apologetic because you don't want the judge to feel like you're admitting guilt just because you were charged and convicted of this crime. You want to still give yourself time to appeal. So of course you don't want to stand up there and admit any guilt. What you actually want to do is show some kind of remorse while being standoffish and away from admitting any crime that you actually committed. And that is exactly what Diddy Combs did. His PR expertise came right into play today while he was standing in front of that judge. And unfortunately, it just did not go over the way he thought it was going to go over. It just did not. And the judge was just disgusted by him. Now, I feel like the judge still showed him mercy. That's just what I'm going to say. Now, he apologized to Cassie. He apologized to her mother. He apologized to the Jane Doe. But I want to say he apologized to Gina, and I want to say Capricorn Clark, but I don't know Capricorn Clark for sure. I think that I don't think her name was specifically said, but I think she was part of the apology. What I will say though, is that he had mentioned something about how he threw his life away. He said he had everything. He had so many businesses, and now he's been reduced down to nothing. Oh my gosh, I know that feeling like the back of my hand. And baby, it is not good. It is damaging. It is damaging to feel that you have simply thrown your life away. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's stressed, not sleeping right, suffering from a little bit of anxiety. He's probably on some type of what we call fed meds when you're in the pen, right? Was when you're in jail, they call them fed meds, period. Some type of anxiety, depression, coping type of medication. So for a lot of people, and especially for me, when I first went to jail and I learned that I was going to prison, a lot of emotions surrounded that. I couldn't sleep. The possibility of me going to prison, I couldn't sleep. I was very sad. I felt like people weren't answering my phone calls enough. I felt jaded. I felt like, why am I not getting the attention that I need from these people? And we've heard Diddy speak out about how people turned their back on him. I would imagine that he's experiencing all those same emotions. I would not be surprised if he ends up in some type of psychiatric ward. We will discuss that in 1 second. Let me get back to my point that I'm making about this speech, and then we'll go into what's going to happen now in regards to him being in prison and actually being transported to prison. Okay, so we're just going to stick some more lip gloss on these good old lips. All right, so with that being said, so he did say that he felt like he was throwing his life away. So there's some type of epiphany in there. There is something going on in his brain where he is self-reflecting. He is looking at himself and his actions. He is admitting some type of accountability, even if he's not admitting to certain crimes. He is admitting to some type of accountability without saying specifically, I bought these people out here to be prostitutes, because that's what he's convicted of. But he is saying, I know that I was wrong. I caused myself to be in jail and lose my freedom. I'm embarrassing my mom. I'm playing myself out of the chance to raise my children the way that I want to. These are all the things that he said in a nutshell. And some of those things he actually verbally said, such as he feels like he played himself out of getting the chance to raise his children. That's a big old deal. That's a big old deal. And I think that's one of the main elements that makes you realize when you really messed up and are throwing your life away. What I will say, though, is that he has a newborn. He was only sentenced to 4 years. He has 14 months time served. He will be able to raise his children. So I think a lot of that played a part in the sentencing, because he did, like I said, he did take some accountability, but just not in an admission of a crime. He didn't say, well, I apologize. It was a mistake. I didn't know any better way to live. He didn't say any of that. He just said, I threw my life away, and I'm I'm accountable. It's my fault. It was my actions, right? I believe that those particular factors and the fact that he is who he is and he's done a lot for the community, which the judge did say, um, contributed to him only getting 4 years. The family showing up for him. Family showing up for you is a huge deal in court. The support that you get, it speaks wonders to the court. A court is a place that is based around the opinions of your peers. So when the court sees people supporting you and that you have these people that are surrounding you and on your side, all of that is taken into great consideration. And his family definitely showed up for him. His children showed up for him, show that he's a good dad. He's doing something positive. And I believe that all of those things, and including him apologizing to his mother and everything else and the victims, I believe it all contributed to the judge actually giving him just 4 years. So the judge made a statement after he gave this speech, and the judge was like, I could easily give you 11 years. That would not be a problem. As you guys know, the prosecution was trying to make sure that he gets 11 years. The judge was like, I could give it to you easily because you deserve it. Period. Like this can definitely be an 11-year sentencing day for you today. Okay, is what the judge said. Your crimes were that bad. Realize, okay, because there's an element of what Diddy said that, and like I said, things can be taken into different perspectives, but there was a small element within his admission of minimalizing, right? By not bringing up the prostitution and by not admitting certain things, right? But admitting others. It's almost like when a person does drugs, but they'll say, oh, I drink every day, but you know that they're on drugs, but they will only admit to the drinking. For whatever condition they're in, they want to minimalize. They want to minimalize the way that it looks to the people before them that see them looking disheveled or a mess. And I feel like his speech did just that. It minimalized certain aspects of the crimes that he committed. Right. So with that being said, I believe that the judge wanted him to know, listen, these crimes are very serious that you've committed. You basically got away with murder. Okay. And however, you do have this and that and that and that going on. And you've been a good pillar in the community. I've seen you do a lot of things. And so the judge was like 50 months, 4 years, time served. K-Mac said that she only thinks that this that Diddy will do a year. I think he'll do right on 3 years, right on it. Okay, let me see. There was another comment that was that I wanted to address. I think the games are about to begin. He's going to be harassing people from behind bars and spending the next few years trying to get out. They bet not let him out early. I think that, and I hate to say this, because it sounds so cliche, but I think that he is going through a series of emotions and learning processes, I want to say it like that, where he actually is learning something. I think that when you sit behind bars and you have time to meditate like that and you get put in that humble position, because as you guys know, I've been there, done that. I think that it really does affect your thought process. And so that's why when a lot of people get out, they have to be careful to not get out and go back to their old habits that they used to do. All right, so he was sentenced to 50 months in court. Oh, I'm sure the prosecution was pissed. I am very sure that the prosecution was upset and unhappy at the fact that he only got 50 months. This is a win for Diddy, okay? 4 years, 14 months time served. He's going to do 3 years. This is a win for Diddy. This is a man that was facing life for racketeering that is now has to do 3 years. Big win. Excuse me, my throat got a little bit dry. Sorry about that. Big win, and this is what we call baby time in prison. So So he is Diddy. Some people don't care about that. Some people do. Some people will mess with him because he's Diddy. Some people will only speak to him because he's Diddy. Like, so when I say mess with, I mean pick with him. And some people will only speak to him because he's Diddy. One thing that he's definitely going to go through is all the freaky talk and all this other stuff. And that's in the beginning, right? Now that he's been sentenced and he's only sentenced for prosecution, he went from looking like a complete pedo and SAer and racketeer, and we gonna beat him down in this prison if he comes back with these charges, to now he looks like the man. Now he looked like, oh, he just had a couple prostitutes. Why you in here? Oh, I had a little prostitution ring. Now he looks like the man in prison versus what he could have looked like if he would have gotten convicted of the other crimes of racketeering and all those other things. He went from looking like crap in there to now he's kind of looks like the man. And this is based on inmate ways of thinking, because I'm going to jump into a couple of different things on this video. But I wanted to address this inmate way of thinking first. This sentencing and this conviction for what he was convicted for has saved him a lot of stress that he could have gone through in this next couple of years of being in prison. Okay. He's very lucky. He better count his lucky stars at this point, because this could have went all the way wrong for him just based on his charges alone. What he got charged with and convicted with and sentenced for saved him from a whirlwind of headache inside of the facility. I'm not talking about outside. Okay. Another thing is, because he's on baby time. So baby time is what inmates consider anything less than 5 years. Okay. He went from facing life. So he probably was hanging out with the lifers and the tough dudes and all that stuff, to now he's doing baby time. So he's probably going to have to switch his crowd from hanging out with the lifers and stuff, or, whoever is looking at life that's in there, that was in his position, and switch his crowd right about now, because there's a lot of jealousies that go on inside of the prison. There's a lot of politics that goes on inside of the prison, and of course, based on his previous charges, they might bring that up. You never know. He didn't get sentenced and convicted of it. That's an easy defense for him in there, but somebody could easily not know that and mess with him. But he is on baby time. That makes me feel a type of way. And when I say a type of way, I mean like scared for him being in there. Now that he's been convicted, he's on baby time. We know what he's facing in there. I've been in prison, obviously, and so I know what he is facing in there. And the only thing that has me afraid for him is that he is on baby time, and I feel like he might have been he might have already got a rep in there outside of his conviction, which means, like I said before, if they feel like he is some type of pervert, or he did this to Meek Mill, or any little thing, okay, they will mess with him. You guys saw what happened to Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez wasn't even in there a good 2-3 years, okay, because that's how much time I did. 2 years and 8 months. Nobody stabbed me up. I've seen plenty of women get their faces slashed and all kinds of stuff, get hit, poked with scissors, all kind of different things. But I've seen these things, and you guys have seen what they did to Tory Lanez with him just having 10 years. They don't care whether you go home or not. The inmates don't. They are jealous. If they have to spend the rest of their life in there, the man that stabbed Tory Lanez has to spend the rest of his life in there. They don't care. So it would behoove Sean Diddy Combs to change the crowd that he's around. If he's been thinking he had a chance of doing life and hanging around lifers, he needs to change the crowd that he's around in there, because those lifers will get jealous and they will try to do something to you. 1 second. They have no reason not to. They don't think they're ever getting out. Right? It reminds me of the case of Lyle and Eric Menendez, right? Eric Menendez never thought he was getting out of there. So he was in the prison committing fraud and money schemes and fighting the COs and getting all these write-ups for drugs and contraband and all kinds of stuff. And then when he finally got the chance to get out, he didn't. He got dumped on his parole board because he was doing so much because he never thought he was going to get out. These are the type of things that happen. Okay. And so, I really feel like it would behoove him to change the crowd that she's around or that he's around. 1 second. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about what's going to happen now that he's been sentenced and he's going to prison. Okay. So now they are more than likely, I'm not sure if they still have the COVID screening in there, but here's what, in my experience and what I know, could possibly happen. He could possibly go through a COVID screening. So anyone going to prison, they do have someone come, they're all covered up. They stick the little Q-tip in your nose, pull it out, and there you go. You are swabbed for COVID. They'll wait for your test to come back, and you'll be good to go from there. Okay. Once you get to the prison, so this could happen either in the county facility or the state facility. They're going to have someone come and mentally evaluate him and talk to him. When a person gets sentenced to prison, it is a very wowing moment. I can tell you, I was in the court and I just did not think that I was going to get sentenced the way that I did. I didn't think they were going to give me my suspended sentence. I thought they were going to revoke my probation. I didn't think they were and reinstate me. I didn't think were going to revoke it and send me to prison, right? So when she said 28 months, even though I knew that was my suspended sentence, when I walked out of that court and got in the elevator, I was in shock. I was shocked. And I could imagine him like, oh, like I still got to do a few more years in here, because he believes that he is innocent, that these women were participating, that he didn't get convicted of a RICO, that he can get probation for, okay, I transported some people to do prostitution. Really not a big deal. Just give me probation. You know what I mean? I'm going to handle it. You know what I mean? Why not? Young Thug got probation. Young Thug got 20 years probation. Why can't I get probation? Nobody passed away in my circumstance. No people are getting unalived in my circumstance. Why can't I get probation? I'm Sean Diddy, brother love, the diddler, daddy comes. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that's how he was thinking. I'm sure when he was talking to Kanye West, Kanye was putting all that delusion in his ear to make him think that he wouldn't have to be accountable at all for any of his actions, when, baby, that is not how this situation goes, okay? So he's going to get a mental evaluation. Okay. They're going to go talk to him. After the initial shock wears off, I'm sure he'll cry. I'm sure he'll, have this moment where he like, dang, when you have a business and you have businesses, and he said during his opening statement, or during his statement to the court, he said he's lost all his businesses. That's what he said. He said, I lost all my businesses. When you have businesses and you immediately and instantly have to be taken away from those businesses, it's like, and that there's a chance that you could get out and that this could all go right for you, you want to get back to those businesses immediately. You don't want your assets frozen. You don't want people doing the jobs that you need to do. There are certain things that can only be done by you. And so I really truly feel like he probably has had some serious anxiety about, oh man, okay, so when they acquit me or when I get out, they probably just gonna give me 14 months time served. The judge said, I will not give you 14 months time served. That is not proper in this case. And so, but I'm sure he thought he was going to get it, right? So I'm sure he was in his cell like, yeah, first thing I need to do is go hit up, K-Mac so I can get back, get revolt back, because they're gonna. I can still work that from a different angle. And the second person I need to hit up is Meek Meek, so that I can jump back on to Bad Boy Entertainment. See, they wait for me to come out. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go live and say this and say that. I'm gonna pull my PR person back in. I gotta get her back on payroll. I'm sure he had all of those thoughts, only to realize, oh snap, I am not getting out of here today. I am not going home on this day, not tomorrow, not in a year. I mean, it's not going down, and so I'm pretty sure that he's having to deal with those thoughts. And also he's having to rearrange the way that he thought he was going to do his business. Because let me tell you something. When I first went to prison, I just knew I was going to be doing my celebrity blogging and crime shows through that phone. I really thought I was. And then I realized I don't want to, not from this standpoint of view, not from here. And I had to rethink on the way that I was going to do things, and this income, and who's going to put this money on that day. And, make sure y'all send me pictures and all this stuff, just to make sure that you're not left out of the loop, So I'm sure that he had those thoughts, but they are going to go have mental health speak to him. He is going to get tested for certain things. He's going to be off on his way to prison. When you first go to prison, they put you in a small quarantine. Okay. And for me, it was 23-hour lockdown. It was really 23 and some change, because you get 15 minutes a week. That's what I had, 15 minutes a week outside of the facility. I'm not sure if that's how they do it in New York. Of course, I will keep you guys updated on that, because I'm curious to find that out myself, what type of quarantine process they go through. But it is called the fish tank. Okay. And in the fish tank is where you it's a new environment, right? Because you're in a prison. You've never been there before. You don't know these COs. You kind of slowly get acquainted. They don't just throw you in prison and then here you are in a room full of new 60 people. It doesn't happen like that. You kind of get the time to acclimate to the new situation from the fish tank. Okay. And then from the fish tank, he will be taken, I'm sure, into protective custody, which is unfortunate. Tory Lanez really had to fight to get out of PC. And I feel like that's what Diddy is going to have to do. Thank you guys for give me 1 second. I do have a few more things I want to discuss with you. I need to go get my power plug. Give me 1 second. All right, and we are back. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me while I went and got that power plug. As you can see by my disheveled hair, I just had to move really, really fast, and I did that. So thank you very much for sticking with me. Okay, so that is from Sean Diddy Combs's perspective. Now, as far as the I'm sure he's going to appeal all of those things. I'm pretty sure. I don't see him just taking this on the head. I don't see him just taking this on the head and letting that be what it is. I feel like he's going to continue to try to get out and continue to try to make himself look less guilty to the public. I think Sean Diddy Combs is very smart. He's very aware that there are people that are going to say, well, Cassie was a hoe. She chose to do that. These people chose to be with him. Young Miami wanted to be with him, knowing that he was with Gina and Cassie and all these people at the same time. And, you're always going to have people that make those type of statements. And so I'm sure that he knows that, and he's going to continue to play on that per his innocence and make it look like to us that he is less guilty than he is, which is the minimalizing that I was talking about. But baby, y'all, okay, I know the prosecution is pissed. I know they are mad. I know the victims are mad. I was watching the Botched the other day, and it had Jessica Dime and Aubrey O'Day. And this was a couple of weeks ago, and Aubrey O'Day was reacting to the fact that he got arrested. And she was like, oh my God, this doesn't always happen to people. The victims never get their justice and this, that, and the other. And then she was so happy only for him to actually not be convicted of what it is they claimed that he was doing, and to not go to prison for the rest of his life. These same people have to now look him in the face. I'm sure that's very intimidating. I'm sure the prosecution's pissed. I'm sure that Aubrey O'Day is pissed. Don Richard is pissed. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people upset around him. Now, what I will say, and I'm going to segue into a different subject just really quickly, but it is about Sean Diddy Combs, okay? Diddy actually, to his credit, there with the situation involving Kim Porter, okay? Kim Porter's best friend said out loud and to the public that none of the things that we've ever said about Sean Diddy Combs doing to Kim Porter has Kim Porter or she ever claimed he's done. She basically said he never treated Kim the way that the public claims that he's treating her, and that he's been villainized. And so I think that that is another perspective, right? That we have to look and be like, well, is he villainized? We've seen him do some things. And so, yeah, to me, yeah, he is villainized because we've seen him do too much. But I do believe that he got it worse than maybe he should have, just based on public opinion, the videos, all the talking, all the rumors about Kim Porter, everything. I mean, this man looks like a monster in on the internet, for sure. Even if it's just on the internet, this man looks like a monster. Understand this, okay? He's gonna have a lot of battling to do when he gets to the prison. Okay, because even though you guys are not hearing that he has been engaged in this argument and that argument, I'm positive it's happened. He's not just getting along with everybody. That's a fact. Okay, so I'm telling you guys right now, he's about to have an uphill battle. I'm sure the prosecution is upset. They're going to be on his ass, listening to his phone calls, all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out what else they can do with him. I wouldn't be surprised if before he gets done with this sentence, they throw more charges at him just to keep him in there. That's how upset at him I think the prosecution is. They were looking for a life without parole sentence. You have to understand this. I am sure that they are like, oh my goodness, we thought we had this big win in this high profile case, and we don't. And this is a slap in the face that this man is only getting 3 years. Let's figure out what else we can charge him with. I really think that he needs to be careful for the next couple of years, okay? For his next couple of years to stay on earth, he needs to be careful, okay? Because I don't see this prosecution just letting this go. They seem irritated. They seem upset. The judge seems disgusted. The court seems disgusted with him, okay? Period. And I don't see him outside of the judge's sentencing. I don't see the prosecution having any mercy for him. They're still pushing for him to get the utmost of whatever they could get at the time of his sentencing. Okay. With that being said, yes, I'm sure he's upset. So for the defense team, this looks good. This looks so good on his defense team. I'm sure they'll get more high profile cases. You know how you got Joe Tacopina, who works for all the other celebrities, and he's trying to work with Wendy Williams and things like that. And he's become, this high profile attorney. I believe that that is what's going to happen in the case with Diddy and his 4 attorneys. This was a huge win for Diddy and for his attorneys. I'm sure Diddy knows it, even though it probably doesn't feel good. I'm sure he knows that. And I am sure that he is counting the days already down in his head from when he can get out. It is unfortunate that they didn't let him out, but I didn't expect for them to. I think he did, and I think that's where he messed up at. One thing about being in prison or being in jail or facing prison time, you really, really have to manage your expectations, because you never know what you are going to get and what is in the mind of another person. I learned that the hard way. As I said, I was very shocked. I'm talking about everything fell below me when I realized how real it was, because in my brain it was minimalized as well. What are you talking about? I didn't do this, and it wasn't even like that, but it's not about the way that it looks to you. It's about the way that it looks to your peers when you are in court. And that prosecution, they started to begin to stack a beautiful brick house. They started putting one story together, then they put some cement on that and stacked another brick story on top of it, and they were building a really big brick house. And then this defense came and literally knocked it down. And here we are at the end of the day, through everything we've been through, with a basically 3.5-year sentence at this point. So there's suspicion from K-Mac and from other viewers that he won't do all his time. Let me ask a question right quick. Hold on. Let me ask correctly. What percentage of time does an inmate spend in a New York prison? Okay, let me see. So it says that according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, they found that in 2018, prisoners served an average of 44% of their maximum sentence sentence length before their initial release. Okay. So here you saw me just read 44% of Diddy's sentencing. So I want to say, okay, so wait, hold on. So 50 months, right? And then that's going to I don't think I'm doing that right. 44%. Okay, so 50 months. So it's basically saying he will serve about 22 months, which is right under 2 years. So if he serves about 22 point something months, right? I think that's enough time for him to be rehabilitated with the transporting the prostitutes. Do I think he's going to be the nicest guy after that? No, I actually think that he's probably going to face something else before he leaves us here on this earth. I think that it's going to take him a little bit more time to be rehabilitated. I think that he needs to change the crowd of people that he chooses to hang around, because obviously none of those employees were his friend. Hello. None of your employees during this trial, during him being in prison, his entire staff turned against him. They were on TV talking about how they had to go get his fanny packs of drugs and go get his baby oil and make sure that Cassie wasn't beat up the next morning. You know what I'm saying? And rescue her from him. These are all of the things that his staff said about him, on a syndicated televised TV show and on the internet. These are the people that he thought were his friends, all the celebrities, all those people strayed away from him. They did not want anything to do with him. He's going to have to deal with all of that. All of that has to be dealt with. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wrote a book while he was in there either. But he has 22 months to do that. I believe that he'll be rehabilitated as far as anything in regards to these driving prostitutes. Yeah. Do I think he'll be rehabilitated from liking male prostitutes? No. I think that he likes what he likes, and it's going to lead him into some more things. That's just what I think. I think he has a sexual lust demon somewhere in there, and it's going to lead him, to some more things. So we're going to discuss really quickly the appeal process, and then hold on. So the appeal process, and I just want to pull this up just so that we can go over what exactly happens. So he will file a notice of appeal within a strict deadline. It initiates the process, and then he has to prepare a written brief outlining the legal errors and submit that to the appellate court, which they're going to review it, put it on record, and then the briefs will be determined whether an error was made or not. An appellate court can uphold, modify, or reverse a lower court's decision. If unsatisfied, a party can seek a rehearing or file a petition with an even higher court, such as the Supreme Court. Okay, so it is my 100% belief that he is going to go ahead and go into this appellate court appeal, um, um, I won't say statement, but it's really a filing. So this appeal filing. And I believe that he's, I don't think he's done fighting. I think he truly believes that he's innocent. But I do think he's going to sit there for the 22 months, and it's very, very unfortunate. Okay, let's see. Let's see here. All right. Hey, Tox, I knew you would be right on it, and you knew that I would. Had to do that, clock it. Guys, I did hit the link just in case somebody wanted to come up and say something. I want to make sure that the lines on this channel stay open for you guys. You guys are welcome to come up at any time when the lines open up. And that's going to be on every single video. So just let me know by being in the background in my studio, in the studio in StreamYard, and I'll bring you up and you can speak on what you need to speak on. I'm glad the judge stood on business. I am too. The judge actually with this sentencing showed that that he was fair. He was unbiased. Like I said, I'm sure he saw some things, but he still judged like he was unbiased, which is a skill in itself. It's a skill set to have as a judge to be able to do, because I'm sure he's seen and heard some things, like I said, from Diddy. But with the judge's skill set, still able to be nice and professional. It just shows that the judge did not look at the evidence and take it personally and internalize it, but that he actually saw people and the situations for what they were. I do think that the judge, unfortunately, has an element of like, these women chose to stay with this man. I can feel that in there somewhere. However, it feels like the judge is also mad or upset that he manipulated them into staying with him. So with the judge being the unbiased personality that he is, I believe that he sees it from both of those angles, and that's another reasoning for this sentencing. I addressed this comment already. Make sure, watch, he only do like a year, right? I see you with the diamonds, K-Max. Shout out to you. Please make sure y'all throw diamonds at me when you come into the room. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, if he was to write a book about all this, it would be a New York Times bestseller for months. That is a very, very big fact. I think that if he was to write a book about this, I would be reading it like so quick it wouldn't even have a chance to really get published. That's how hot it would be coming off the shelves, okay? Because we all want to know, like, dude, what? Let us know what exactly happened here. Like, this is so crazy. Too bad. I don't feel sorry for him, not one bit. I don't either. I actually think he should have gotten anything other than baby time. Even if it was right at 5 years, he could have gotten anything other than baby time for all of the things and all of the witnesses and all of the this and that. But he only got baby time. And I mean, okay, I understand. Diddy be walking through the pod with Rich Homie Quan's song Walk Through playing in his head now. Well, now he has the opportunity to get a tablet, because guess what? They have tablets in the prison in New York where they can text and they can send pictures. If he wants to talk, he has to get on that phone on that wall, on that good pay phone on that good brick wall. But they do have tablets in the prison in New York. So, hopefully it won't be that bad of a stay. What I will say is that I do know that the facility that is in New York, the detention facility that he's at now, Metropolitan Detention Facility, Correctional Center, whatever it's called. Listen, honey, what I do know is that's one of the worst county facilities that exists in the United States. And so I'm sure the living conditions that he's living in is far from what he's used to, And what I would hope for him is that that the prison is not just as nasty, because some of these prisons are absolutely disgusting. Me imagining him walking into his cell and locking himself into this small, little bitty, tiny environment with another man is the part that is like, it's a shocking experience. It's like, I don't know you. You don't know me. Let's try to get along so we can get out of here. my name is Wooty Whoop. You know what I mean? And we don't know the things he would discuss. We don't know the records he's going to come out with. Hell, he might sit in there and not even talk to his bunkies, but he's going to go through a slew of bunkies in this prison, and he's not going to get along with all of them. It is going to be a very, very life-changing experience, period. So this was K-Mac responding to me talking about Young Thug being on probation for 20 years. That's a long time to be on probation, 20 years, right? A lot of people like me will take the time over doing 20 years. Don't try to give me 20 years probation versus 2 years in the prison. Just let me go to the prison. And then after them 2 years, I don't want to see you, talk to you, speak to you, leave me alone. This case is over. It's expired. I don't want to speak to you again. 20 years really is a long time. I really don't think that it would have been a good thing for him to have been on probation, because it would have been for a very long extended period of time, in my trajectory, in my perspective, based on the allegations, the witnesses, and everything else. So I actually think, like I said, he won in this case. He's winning. He came out on top, and he is winning. And congratulations to him. That's what's up. It's a hard adjustment. Oh yeah, it's definitely a hard adjustment. So to address this comment, maybe they should sue him civilly. I always thought that, right? So I always thought that outside of whatever criminal was taking place, Cassie Ventura, Don Richard, Rod, what was, just many of those people that showed up in court, Kid Cudi, they should have sued him civilly. That should not have played out like that. Like, go get your money for your car that he blew up, instead of speaking to people trying to get them sent to prison and they don't believe you, and now you just look like a snitch, right? And it made no impact. You just went to court and you said a whole bunch of nothing, and you blew a whole bunch of hot air because it made no impact on the jury at all or the sentencing. And now you're just in the public eye for dating Cassie Ventura while she was with Diddy, which is absolutely disgusting because in my perspective, the girl don't have no walls or jaws because they're worn out. That's just my perspective. Okay, I really don't think he'll serve that long. They'll let him out on good behavior or some other BS like that. Well, his behavior got to be good to be let out on good behavior, doesn't it? And we haven't really had any complaints so far in the jailhouse facility about him having any write-ups, or about him trying to sneak in any contraband, or about him getting into it with too many people. Because if you argue too much, you will get a G14, which is a general fighting. It's for arguing and fighting. And we haven't seen any of that from Diddy. And so maybe he can go to the prison, get along and chill. But I think it would behoove him to stay away from the lifers or anybody that is facing life, because they're going to be jealous. They're going to be like, oh, that nigga got off on life. And, it just happens. Okay. I think Gina and Daphne would still be with him if he just asked. That is a fact. They definitely will. Can't they do a class action lawsuit against him or his company? I would. It's all in the perspective of these victims. It's all about the victims. But at the same time, you have to remember this man's assets are frozen. There is nothing that he has on him that was not wrapped up in that RICO at this time. They want to know how he was getting his money. Was it illegal? This, that, and the other. And we don't know that they have released any funds to his children, to his mother, to anything. We don't know any of that. Okay. I want to bring up one more thing before I let you guys go. And this is an important point for me to make about Sean Diddy Combs. Okay. He brought up today in court, and the judge did bring up with sympathy that his father passed away while he was in early age. Okay. I believe that this really played a huge, huge part and had a huge impact on why Diddy is where he is today. I think this played a huge part and look at this man's face. Don't y'all remember when he used to be lighter than this? He turned into a dark skin, like just dark. That whole hair color is fake. Everything's fake. This man has gray hair. He used to be light skinned. His hair is fully gray now. He's dyeing it black. I think that these moments of not accepting the changes that are going on, or there's plenty of celebrities don't dye their hair completely black when they know they're gray. And then you have to keep that up from the root. There's a reason why. That's an insecurity. There's a reason why that's happening. I don't want to be an old man. I want to be a young man. I want to be like this and that. Yeah, this, that, and the other. And I believe all of these thoughts about that he has about his manhood were shaped from his father not being in his life early on. And it really affected who he is as a man. We've heard some disgusting things about Diddy. You know, as far as Meek Mill, I heard some audio, really disgusting, very disturbing audio, some things about Bad Bunny, very disturbing things. And I believe that he has an uphill battle as far as defending himself, not just to the court, but to the court of the public eye. And also, I think that he's going to have some very therapeutic moments he needs to work through in regards to his father. Okay. His mother, shout out to her for being a good mom and sticking by her son. But he apparently and obviously needed his father to the point where 40, 50 years later, that is being brought up in court. Now, that, you guys, is what we call trauma. And as you guys know, misery loves company. And so that's where it is. Okay. Really quickly, I want to get you guys hooked up into this. Hold on, let me type it in. Okay. We're going to get you guys hooked up to the DV hotline for those of you who absolutely 100% need it. So the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE, S-A-F-E. That's 799-7233. And if you are ever having a situation of any sort, please make sure you reach out to someone that can help you and lead you to where you got to go. And don't forget, you can always dial 211. Thank you guys for joining me for this video. This is my first video back into my celebrity blogging. It was very necessary for me to do this video today. I'm praying for Sean Diddy Combs and his family because, hell, he ain't done nothing to me. But I'm glad that the victims at least get to feel some type of justice, even if it's not super long term and it is baby time. We're going to stay updated on Diddy and his moves into the prison and within the prison. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace and love.